Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is your guide Olena from Ukraine, and in this video I'd like to talk to you about is it safe to visit Ukraine now in terms of the information about the possible invasion of Russia into Ukraine. I never wanted to make this kind of videos. I didn't want my YouTube channel to have any political videos. I wanted it to dedicate it completely to tourism, culture, history and traditions of Ukraine and to the beauty of this country. But looks like it's unavoidable. These days I received many direct messages, emails, and you text me on WhatsApp with the question, Olena, should I cancel my trip or I can visit Ukraine? So this is why I have decided finally to make this video. It is like a video when I'm just talking to you, so there will be no entertainment. This is the way how can I make this video. I am on a walk with one of my 3 children, Darina. She is sleeping, I hope. Yeah, so she's sleeping peacefully, and this is a chance for me to talk to you. So this will be my talking head video. Okay, so is it safe to visit Ukraine right now? Yes, I think it is safe. Should you cancel your trip into Ukraine? No, I think you shouldn't cancel your trip if you plan to visit Ukraine at least in the nearest months, maybe even several months. But this is my subjective opinion. This is my personal subjective feelings about the situation right now. And of course, you watch the news and there is recommendation of the embassy of your country, what they say. Can you visit or you are not recommended? So as far as I know, many countries right now, embassies, they issued like they say you should better not visit Ukraine because it is not safe. At least the USA is like this. That means they don't want to be responsible for you in case if the war starts here. And the thing is that nobody really knows, is it really going to start? And I am not the exception. So we don't really know what Putin in Moscow has in his mind. Maybe he really decides to invade Ukraine and to make this kind of political suicide, to kill many people, I don't know, and to try it, to take Ukraine. But as it is not possible to do, I hope that he will not even try it. Okay, so now my absolutely personal subjective opinion about what's going on. In Ukraine, in Kyiv and other territories that are under control of Ukraine, we have this peace and winter and snow. Sometimes it's melting and our kids are playing on the playground, mommies are walking with the small babies on the walk, people are at work, children go to school, kindergarten, so it's absolutely normal, average life. So people do their everyday work. Nothing has changed here in the last 2 months that we have this escalation. So life goes on as always. But if you watch the local news on the local TV, if you read the local newspapers and news agencies in the internet, they make you feel panic because the news are really bad. So there is all these headlines, Ukraine war, Ukraine invasion, like a lot of these threats from outside. Yes, but if you come here right now as a tourist and walk in the local streets, go to the restaurant, nightclubs, whatever, dating agencies, maybe if you have this in your mind, you will not feel any kind of tension and you will not feel any kind of crisis unless you read the news. So this is what we have. The airports work normally. The way how you can enter Ukraine are still the same. In terms of COVID, you need travel insurance and you need to be double vaccinated or to present a test and then be tested after you cross the border too. So it's all the same. Now, what the hell is going on between Ukraine and Russia? Well, it's not a new invasion that is possible. Russia already invaded Ukraine in 2014, when Ukraine was in deep crisis, political crisis after the Revolution of Dignity, without any fightings, without any, fighting back. Putin has taken a big part of Ukraine. This is the Crimean Peninsula and the eastern regions of Ukraine. He tried to take more, but Ukrainians finally started to react. So these are the regions that he took. And so far we have, Crimea in the south and Donbass in the east that are under control of Russia since 2014. So right now we hear in the news that Moscow has concentrated tens of thousands of troops at the border, along the border with Ukraine, and looks like they are getting ready for invasion. But Putin says that no, it wasn't me, it's not me. Well, this is the Soviet Union tradition. Soviets were always saying the same, like, no, it's not me, it's somebody else. Well, so all these troops at the border, of course, that is very suspicious. And of course, Ukrainian politicians, they are worried about this. Why there are so many troops? If there is a gun on the wall in the theater, the gun should shoot in the end of this theatrical play. So why does he have all these troops? So from one side, the amount of these troops at the border, it is absolutely not enough to conquer, to get Ukraine, to occupy all of Ukraine. So in case if he really starts the war, he will lose, and it's obvious, so he should understand it. But again, nobody knows what is in his mind. So this is why he shouldn't try it, but who knows, maybe he will. If in 2014 Ukrainians were not prepared for any kind of the war here with Russia, we absolutely did not expect this to happen, and Ukrainians didn't fight back. Today the situation is completely different. Today Ukrainians are ready to fight back. We have a well-trained army. We have many people who already were at war and know how to do this. They are not afraid of taking the guns in their hands, and they are ready for this. Moreover, here in Ukraine, very few people can believe now that Putin wants to save us from some kind of fascists in the power. Because in 2014 there was a lot of propaganda that after revolution in Ukraine there were nationalists who came to power, they are like fascists and they will kill all Russian-speaking population, which was absolutely bullshit. But there were people here who believed in this propaganda, and my own father is part of this brainwashed population in the south of Ukraine who believes into this bullshit. So in 2014 there were people who were really welcoming Russian troops, believing that they come to save us. And the regions that were occupied by Russia back then, these are the regions where most, half or even most of the ethnic population is Russian, with the Russian roots. Right now, what is left in Ukraine, the most of people are ethnically Ukrainian population. And it turned out that even Russians who live here, they respect Russia, but they want to live in Ukraine. They don't think that Ukraine needs to be part of Russia. They are like Ukrainian Russians now. So there is no support, there is no big support of Putin in Ukraine. So there will not be real crowds of people who want, Putin to make Ukraine a part of Russia. So Ukrainians do not want this. And again, Putin, I think he needs to understand this, so he should not try to invade Ukraine, because that is a suicide for him. At the same time, we cannot really guarantee that it will not be happening, because nobody knows what Putin has in his mind. But how it feels in Ukraine right now, it feels like a very peaceful, normal, average, even boring everyday life. Very cold, no sun, people are planning some vacations to go to Egypt, to go to Turkey, and honestly, I'm dreaming about this so much. I love to travel, and I really dream to take my family somewhere this year. Really the dream of for this year for me. And people do not plan any war. They don't want to fight with anybody. Yeah, so just come on, Putin, go home and don't bother us. Okay. So looks like people, how we feel. Yes, how I feel that what's going on is just a political game. It's like, you know, a theater. They are like, and it's a game between Moscow and Washington. They are trying to divide, to share the political map. You know, they are two superpowers. Putin wants to be a superpower along with Moscow, and they want, you know, to share the control of the world, of this. And of course, Putin wants Ukraine to be his satellite country, because historically Ukraine was always for Russia like a jewel on the crown. Why? Because, just an example, when 1,000 years ago Kyiv here was the capital of a very civilized and developed state, it was a big city, and local princes, they received the crown from Byzantium Empire. They were getting, princesses and princes were getting married with European kings and queens. Like Prince Yaroslav, his daughters got married with the kings of France, Hungary, and so on. So Kyiv has a very ancient and old history. And back then, 1,000 years ago, when Kyiv was already prosperous, Moscow haven't existed even yet. Then it was a small village, then it was growing. Then only when Tatar Mongols invaded these lands, Kyiv was in bad situation, and Moscow state developed and grew bigger. So for Moscow, since then, you know, having roots from Kyiv is like recognition of their old and ancient history. This is why they will always want Kyiv to be part of their background. I'm sorry. It's really cold here. So it's not something new that is going on right now. It's not something that Putin, you know, decided to take Ukraine recently, or even not only after the collapse of the Soviet Union. It's been here for centuries. Russian Empire always wanted Ukraine to be part of the Russian Empire, then the Soviet Union. Again, that was the Soviet occupation of Ukraine. Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union with a center in Moscow. And Putin, he said many times that the collapse of the Soviet Union was a geopolitical earthquake, and it was a big tragedy. I don't know, for Ukraine, collapse of the Soviet Union was finally to gain its independence. It was the victory. For Moscow, for the current regime, they say it was like they lost, and it's not fair. So they want Ukraine back under their influence. But Ukraine doesn't want to be back into their influence. This is why Ukraine wants to be part of the European Union, of NATO, to get the Western protection from this Russian influence and the threat that we have here, that we had, that we have, and that we always will have. If we stay the same, like neutral and all by ourselves. So Moscow will always try to, you know, to invade Ukraine. And, you know, you were not canceling your trip because of this, like a few years ago. And this is why I don't think you will have to cancel your trip because of this right now. You know, because on the place, nothing has really changed. It's a long story. You know, it's part of our history. These relations between Ukraine and Russia. So he should not really invade. Nothing really should happen. because if this happens, that will be too bad for all of us, really. Today, as Ukrainians are ready to fight back, that will be blood. I don't imagine this. I don't want even to imagine this. I just want to have peaceful life. Yes, but well, if it happens, it happens. Yes, like we will just need to do something here. So today our president Zelensky, he said that if Putin occupies Kharkiv, which is the Russian-speaking town in the east, but Ukrainian by the spirit, in this case that will be the start of the war. And the population of Kharkiv is very big, so it's hard to imagine how they are going to control this population, because it will not be welcoming Putin, you know, like they did in Donbass in 2014. Many people did. Yeah, many other people became refugees, and now they live here in Ukraine, not over there. So as well, the American officials, they say that if even one soldier crosses the border into Ukraine, that will be the start of the war. And looks like, you know, like this time we have much more of support from the West, and Ukrainians are more sure in themselves to fight back, so it will not be easy for Putin to occupy Ukraine. He doesn't have enough of troops to occupy Ukraine, so he should not even try to do this. Come on, is he a complete idiot? Is he absolutely insane? And now even me, I understand this. Why he doesn't understand this? He should understand this, right? So he shouldn't even try to come here with his I don't know, tents or whatever. Because if he does, that will be a political suicide for him, and I think in this case his own people, Russians, will oust him. There will be some protests, revolutions. I believe that Russian people will see that it's too aggressive, it's too much. You know, it's one thing when you okay, you have this propaganda and you believe that Ukrainians need support and you know, to be protected from bad politicians. But this time, I mean, if they come, if there will be fightings, I don't know, how can you brainwash? Like, it's just impossible to hide this time, I believe. Okay, so I don't think that Putin will really, like right now in the nearest months, will really invade Ukraine. Looks like he just puts pressure on the Western world, and they are like negotiating, they are trading, and this is a political game. Yes, okay, what else I wanted to tell you? I wanted to tell you that these news are very bad. It's very sad to hear them. And there is some other thing that is going on in Ukraine. Maybe you've heard it in the news too. Regularly right now, some of our subway stations are mined. Today, all the schools in Kyiv, there was a phone call that, hey police, all the schools in Kyiv are with the bombs now. So all schools had to evacuate children, and children were saying like, oh, hooray, we have day off. Parents were saying, oh shit, how should I take my kid from school? And yes, so there was never any terrorist attacks here on the territory of Ukraine. They were in London, they were in Paris, they were in Moscow. It never happened here in Kyiv. So people here are not afraid of any terrorist attacks so far. So people think that it's just bad jokes, and that somebody just wants to local people to feel even worse than before, not to be in depression. Again, all this news about the possible war, they are bad too when you read them. So looks like the war that is going on here, it is so far in the informational field, and I believe it will stay the same in the informational field right now. So maybe my video is my, you know, some kind of coin into this informational war too. You know, so many people cancelled their visits to Ukraine because they were not advised by their embassies to come. I understand your feelings when you hear all, about kind of Ukrainian crisis, that you are afraid to come here. I understand. This is why you cancel your trips, and that influences very badly on the local economy. Ukraine loses money that could be at least, be received through the tourism here. This is bad. So all that is part of informational war against Ukraine. At the same time, if you think about it, maybe this kind of informational war is even good. It's bad for people, but it's good for our politicians, because maybe they do not want to be re-elected, to lose their power. If the country is in crisis, if people are in fear, normally they don't want to change their authorities, or by law they don't have a chance to change their authorities if the country is in the state of the war. And we are kind of almost in the state of the war. So it's always good to have some, enemy outside, like possible enemy and some threat, and that keeps you in power, and it keeps your people under your control for politicians. So this is profitable for Ukrainian politicians, for politicians in Russia, and for politicians in the US. So everybody has an enemy, and everybody is happy to control the peoples. Well, it's bad, but this is what we probably have. So in the end of this video, what I'd like to say, maybe I repeat myself, that right now in Ukraine it feels very safe, it feels very okay, everything works, okay, all bars, restaurants, nightclubs, everything here is open, but to enter those places you need to be vaccinated or to show your test result that you don't have COVID. So it's all the same here. So if you plan to visit Ukraine in the nearest weeks, at least, I don't think you should cancel this trip. I think it should be okay. Yeah, this is what I felt in December, and this is what I feel right now. At the same time, I cannot give you any guarantees, because I simply don't know what's happening in the mind of our neighbor, really. So you just watch different interviews of different experts and decide yourself what to do. Of course, you have to listen to the advices of your embassy too, and take your own decision. Know how important and desirable it is for you to visit Ukraine right now. Yes, if it's urgent and right now, maybe it's better to do this right now. If it's not urgent and it waits till someday, maybe you just wait and see how the situation develops in the nearest, half of the year. As for my family, personally, right now we are not really getting ready for any kind of war. We are living, we are trying to get some income. I want to go on vacation somewhere. This is my dream right now, to take my kids to the seaside. Well, before every February we've been visiting something. Last year we've been to the mountains in Ukraine to go skiing. Before we've been to Thailand for the whole month, and that was so cool. Before we've been to Egypt in February. So it's like February is our time for vacations. The summer is our time to work in tourism, and I hope there will be work for us, and that it all will be peaceful and nice and beautiful here in Ukraine. Okay guys, I think I told you everything I wanted to say, all the thoughts that I had in my mind for this kind of video. I don't know, express your opinion in the comments. Tell me what you think about this situation. Yes, feel free to express yourself. I never block any comments, only those who are spamming with different porno sites. I think you will find your porno websites yourself. We don't need any kind of extra advertisement. So express yourself. Yes, so let's have some kind of discussion. Let's talk to each other. Yeah, okay, so I'm looking for your comments. Okay, See you.